Greetings, sports entertainment enthusiasts! This is CAW Acadian champion Homeless Bob, and you are currently watching Wrestle Geeks Recaps, catching you up on AEW Dynamite, NXT, and so very much more.
Welcome everybody to Wrestle Geeks Recaps for New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're going to be recapping the first part of the USA Strong tournament, USA New Japan Cup tournament. They change. I get confused with the names of the New Japan's tournaments. There's too many of them. This is your host, the Geek Trevor Firth. I'm being joined by Team Tiger Driver Radio, and we have JP with us.
What's going on? What's up?
And L Blue.
Yo, how's it going? Howdy. That's my thing again. While Jerry's not here. He really hates the howdy. I don't know why. Anyways, what's up?
Pretty good week. Of wrestling. Can't complain. Some pretty cool stuff happening.
Oh yeah.
I'm a little disappointed this episode of Strong because the tournament didn't start, but we'll get into that. I think we're all gonna start with a little bit of a rant. I'm not gonna lie. So we're gonna start off. New Japan Strong didn't do any little promo at the beginning this time, like they've been doing. They saved that for a little later, but instead we got them revealing the New Japan Strong Openweight title. The winner of the New Japan USA Cup will be winning the belt and crowned the first champion. All I have to say is, oh my god, it's so ugly. It is so ugly. I hate it. I really hate it, guys. Like, what do you think?
I was just excited to see a belt just for New Japan USA because it's like, okay, they finally fighting over something. And it's funny because I shitted on the new IWGP World Heavyweight belt. And then this one comes out and I'm excited about it. It's even uglier, but I'm like, yeah, but they finally have a belt. I was more excited at the idea of a new belt than the actual design. It does kind of look like ass.
I just see nicer belts on the indies. Come on.
Yeah. What about you, JP?
Like as far as like the New Japan Strong Openweight belt?
Yeah.
When I look at it, I'm a little disappointed, but it kind of reminds me of an early version of the IWGP Heavyweight belt that Vader had. It's circular with like the slashes around the belt, and that was a corny looking belt. I didn't like that belt that much either, but it kind of looks like the old one. So I'm like, all right, well, I've seen worse. I've seen way better, but yeah. I'm like, all right, it's nice to see a belt being featured on there. I just hope that Moxley will defend the U.S. belt because I feel like the U.S. belt should be like the big prime piece for New Japan Strong by default since it is the American side of the promotion. Hopefully that changes soon. But it is nice to see that there is another opportunity within New Japan Strong for people to get some, recognition. So, I mean, it's not the worst belt. It's definitely not the best belt I've seen, though.
I think I was mostly just hoping for a tag team belt if they're going to do that. But openweight, okay, I guess. There's a lot of mixed. They already do a lot of the mixed weight category on New Japan Strong, so why not? But we open up with the first match being, I believe the first match was a singles match between Rocky Romero and Kevin Knight. So Rocky Romero is apparently asked to be paired against Young Lions. He wants to face all the Young Lions. He wants to be that veteran, that gatekeeper veteran. And Kevin Knight had a great showing against him. Rocky Romero did win in the end, but he really made him work for it. You saw Rocky, like, there's a couple spots. Rocky was sweating. He really, really, really won this one by the skin of his teeth. But this is a good position for Rocky Romero in New Japan Strong. I mean, this is what the Young Lions need. They need a veteran guy that'll work against them constantly. And then the moment they get in the back, break down the match for them, tell them what they could do better next time. You know what I mean? So, like, it's really cool that he's willing to do this position considering how much else he does within for talent relations and for ROH and everything else Rocky does. But JP?
No, I completely agree. I feel like by de facto, like Rocky Romero has kind of turned into that gatekeeper veteran member of New Japan Strong, where the young lions have to go up against, kind of like the equivalent of what for a while Yuji Nagata was to the young lions over there and on the main roster. Like Yuji Nagata was the guy that would just beat the piss out of like every young lion, but he did it for a reason. He wanted them to get better. But he also, I think, wanted to prove to himself that despite him aging, that he could still go. Which I know maybe we'll perhaps talk about this a little later, which is why I was always shocked that Moxley, of course, shouted out Yuji Nagata for a title, a title shot, later on for the United States, title in New Japan. But I feel like when it comes to a guy like Yuji Nagata is that gatekeeper. He is the embodiment of New Japan. And I feel like when it comes to Gaijins, Rocky Romero is that same guy. He is essentially the banner keeper of what New Japan is for Gaijins. He is that gatekeeper. And I feel like what a perfect way to showcase that than to have him basically train up these young lions. And, because I'm pretty sure Shibata does that in the dojo. But when it comes to the actual matches and the shows, it's so good that that Rocky Romero is that guy. And
absolutely,
and I think it's perfect.
Anything to add, Blue?
No, I mean, I agree. I think they have something interesting going on here with Rocky kind of being the young lion tamer, kind of going on, and I feel like it's if they do this for several months or several weeks, and then you finally it's a good way to put over the right young lion whenever, like whatever young lion gets the upset win over him. It's something you can build up like every week or every other week. Just have them beat people, gain a winning streak, and then after a while, have this new young lion come up and just somehow one up them, and that'd be a great way to still give Rocky something to do, be the gatekeeper, introduce the young lions into the New Japan style, and then at some point put somebody over as like, oh wow, this guy, kind of how when Narita beat Chris Dickinson, it was like, well, that was a legitimate upset, but there was no build to that. It just kind of happened. But here you have a great way of building into a pretty interesting storyline where it's like Rocky being in the twilight of his career, and young lions kind of who's going to step up to finally take him down.
Yeah,
because they're ready something to do. Mm-hmm.
I think it might actually be Kevin Knight, honestly. Like, he could be the guy, like, his second time fighting Rocky. Wait 2-3 months. Make him fight Rocky Romero a second time in a singles match, and that time he wins. Use it, like, he learned, he went out, he got better, he figured out what he did wrong, he fixed it, now he's back. This time he's better, and he got the win.
Yeah, that was good. I like Kevin Knight. Like he looked great in this match, and I think that's just both guys were Rocky's experience and just what Knight's learned along the way. Go ahead, sorry.
No, good. I was going to transition to the next match if anybody didn't have anything else. We're going to go over to the tag match next, and we had TJP teaming up with Alex Coughlin to take on Big Pappy Pump, Mysterioso, and Jordan Clearwater. I'm not going to bring up the nickname for Jordan Clearwater because the ring announcer didn't say Big Pappy Pump, and he said Jordan's, and that rubs me the wrong way.
I really like Mysterioso's Big Pappy Pump thing where he's got the chainmail and everything.
I love it.
I wonder
cruiserweights. He's one of the buffest cruiserweights I've seen since Pac.
Yeah, he's pretty ripped. And the chainmail makes it great. I wonder if he has Steiner's permission to do that, or is he, I don't know. I don't know if he has his blessing. I don't think he needs it, but it'd be really cool just to have that kind of sign off from Scott Steiner. But he looks the part for sure.
I don't know. I'm of the school of thought that I don't think Mysterioso is a legitimate cruiserweight. It's like Shingo Takagi as a junior heavyweight. I don't buy it for 1 second. That dude is pushing 210, probably 220, and they're lying, saying that he's like 195. Like, I'm not buying it. Like, you are not a junior, dude.
He's not the tallest guy though.
Yeah, I mean, there's that.
So no, I don't know. It's possible. They do that. It's wrestling. Come on.
Yeah, like what is it like? Like Adam Cole
Tip the
is
scales.
6 foot and Zack Sabre is like 6'2", but then when you put Adam Cole next to like Zack Sabre Jr., Adam Cole like is just a dwarf compared to Zack Sabre Jr. It's like clearly Adam Cole is not 6 foot tall.
No, he's definitely not. But the match was really. This was a fun little match. This was Clearwater taking a beating from both TJP and Coughlin more than anything else. Clearwater showing how tough he is, how resilient he can be. Eventually, he does get to tag Mysterioso. Mysterioso gets in some nice offense. But I think TJP and Coughlin are the faces in this match. Ultimately, they win. I'd call them the faces in this case because it was kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, that's what I would. That's my understanding of the match too. At least Coughlin. I think TJP is kind of in between, kind of this. I don't know if I'm mixing it up with MLW. Just that he's kind of frustrated where at his point in the career. I know in MLW he has something going on here. I don't know if we've really seen him talk too much, but
it's the same thing. I've seen him in MLW. The stuff he's doing with Ukudao. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some of that stuff, and I'm just gonna say like it's actually pretty consistent with his character on Impact. He's a face on Impact, but he's such a prick. Like he's so cocky, arrogant, and Scott D'Amore just gives him anything he wants, and Scott D'Amore doesn't give anyone shit. So I don't get it. But keep going. Sorry.
No, I feel. I mean, once the world opens up a little bit more, especially Japan, guys like TJP and Mysterioso, even Clearwater, could be very like they could breathe new life into the junior tag division because that. We talked about this last week. That division is like hemorrhaging wrestlers that they don't even know. There's like 4 wrestlers that I know that are junior tag teams, and then there's just like you just throw in Doki and another member of Suzuki-gun. So same thing. We'll get to this. The Regal twins. They'd breathe some new life into that division where it's not just the same teams competing for the tag belts. Especially Mysterio, so he would stand out so much in Japan. But overall, I enjoyed the match. I'm liking Mysterio, so the more I see him, I think that the only thing with him is like his name. I feel like having Mysterio or any form of mystery in your name is always going to draw that comparison to Rey Mysterio. So it's like he could probably change that, but maybe there's a reason he does it. Maybe it's like a family thing. I don't know.
That's my same complaint about Ray Horus, who's also in New Japan Strong. I'm like, we have too many Rays. We have Ray Phoenix and Rey Mysterio, and they're both goddamn amazing. So really want to be comparing yourself to them. But yeah.
How about you, JP? You have anything?
Like, I will say I agree with the whole Ray Horus thing, and I agree also with the Mysterioso thing. It's like you've got to be very careful with how you present yourself because there's already, like I said, it's already by default, and this is unfortunate, but it's already by default that if you are a luchador in America, you are already going to draw the comparison to Rey Mysterio. It's like, oh, he's masked, just like Rey Mysterio. So you have to try really hard to set yourself apart, and it doesn't do you any favors that you have a name that's a little too close to Rey Mysterio with whatever way. This is why when Rey Phoenix came out, people were like, oh, Rey. But he was so good and set himself apart that now people don't draw that comparison to Rey Phoenix. Now they're like, Rey Phoenix could very well be the natural continuation of that style of wrestling. And instead of saying, oh, he's just another Rey Mysterio, he is like a natural progression of what Rey Mysterio did in the 90s and early 2000s. And same thing with like Pentagon. He's an amazing mass wrestler, but he is a different style wrestler. He is not purely high flying, and he's a totally different thing. And I think the biggest thing you need to do is try your best to set yourself apart, because I feel like, unfortunately, in America, if you are a masked wrestler, there are going to be a ton of comparisons from Jones Street.
I mean, yeah, it's automatic because like American fans have that. Sorry, but like same thing Canadian fans, but like we have a more narrow-minded view of what wrestling is half the time. Like we're fans of New Japan, so we have a broader horizon when it comes to that, so we see different things. But when you've been raised to watch WWE or even then just American indies, yeah, you get a perception of what Lucha Libre is, and then it's stuck in this box. You get a perception of what strong style is, and it gets stuck in a box because like you don't have the exposure to know any better.
Exactly. Like, perfectly said.
And that's just like product of like everybody starts that way when they start watching wrestling too. Like nobody knows anything at first. They're going, I liked that guy. He was kind of cool. He did some cool things. Like that's about everything they know after their first show.
Pretty much, yeah. That's how we all started. Yeah.
We get a little promo after the match. It's an interview with Team Filthy, asking them about like the fact that they're both Dickinson and Tom Lawler are both in the tournament. Dickinson, he's going against Brody King in the first round. Brody King is the guy who brought him into New Japan. You know, how does he feel about that? And that like starts putting more doubt in Lawler's head, I guess. You can see it. That like it bothers him for a second. He's just like, oh yeah, he did bring you in, didn't he? Yeah. And we know he's been having small issues with Dickinson, because Dickinson lost to Narita. That's been a big deal for Lawler. He's been really rubbing that in his face. But yeah, there's a good little promo to lead up to what happens later in the main event. So.
Yeah, I love this. Again, a big team Filthy guy. I always do that.
Yeah.
And I know Joe can probably go into more detail about this. They kind of touched on Chris Dickinson's kind of relationship with Brody King, and kind of there's like these doubts set in within the stable where it's like, oh, is Chris Dickinson really all the way with Team Filthy, or is he just kind of a hired gun? And now, going into the tournament, that makes it interesting. I think the way the tournament's set up, though, aren't Chris and Brody in the first round against each other? I wish I would have it happen later in the tournament, but we might just get an immediate payoff on that.
Yeah, they're in the first round against each other.
Yeah, so I mean, it builds up towards that match, right? And then Tom Lawler's on the other end of the tournament, so if they do meet up, you won't see it until the finals. But yeah, no, it's always great watching these guys interact, and now you kind of have that stable member that's, it's kind of on the edge of, is he gonna stay with the stable, or is he gonna go face? And finally, and we'll talk about it more when we get to the end of the main event. But Joe, I don't know if you had anything to add.
Like I said, I think in terms of storyline, it's definitely it's going to be really interesting how they're going to play off of the dynamic of the fact that now Chris Dickinson in Ring of Honor is involved with Brody King's new stable, but yet here in New Japan Strong, he is still involved with Team Filthy. And of course, Tom Lawler is kind of poking at him still after losing to Narita several weeks back. So I think in terms of storylines and rivalries, it's going to make things very interesting and compelling. And I'm excited to see how that's going to pan out and play out within this tournament.
Yeah. So this spins us into the main event, which is a trios match where we have the Reigel twins and Brody King coming out versus Tom Lawler, Chris Dickinson, and JR Kratos. Okay, Kozlov with the whole tattoo thing throughout the match. Man, at least he committed. At least he committed to the gimmick, because when Dickinson grabbed the shirt and it pulled on the shirt, and he's just like, "Oh my god, he pulled the skin! Did you see that?" I was just
Oh
like,
my god.
I had to pause because I was laughing that hard. I was like, okay, you got me. Like, if it was bugging me, I really didn't like it, and then that happened, and I was like, oh god, that's actually really funny now.
He kept going through with it. That's true. Yeah, I kind of felt the same way going through the match where it's like, okay, it was funny the first time that he thinks they're real, but he just keeps, the more you say it, the more annoying it gets. But then yeah, that happened, and it's like, oh, he committed, kept the kayfabe. Yeah, but now go on.
Well, the match itself, like, this is a lot of this was Dickinson doing work, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
This was Dickinson going in, and you could see it. That Lawler was just like directing traffic, directing Kratos to be like, no, let him be, let him do a little bit more work, let him get in heavy shots, let him do all the hard lifting. He's got to earn it. You know what I mean? Brody King himself was a brute throughout this match. I really enjoyed his offense, but towards the end, man, this broke down. This just completely broke down at the end when it came to ref thing. The ref had no control, but you had Kratos on the outside fighting Brody King. You had Tom Lawler beating down on one of the twins, and then you had Dickinson in the ring, and he knocked out one of them.
He straight up knocked him out with was it like a right? It's just like it was just like a jab. Oh, not a jab, but it was like a straight punch in the face.
He just went full mount. He just went full mount and a couple punches to the face. Done. Knocked him right out cold.
You know what they were doing? They were doing that spot where they trade like the forearms. And I don't know, like Dickinson just went a little too hard, and poor one of the Regal twin just got knocked out. I was like, oh dang, he's out. Like you don't just fall like that in that exchange. It's like, oh crap, that was scary to watch.
I will say Kratos' pounce. You got Brody King about to throw one of the twins at Lawler, and Kratos just pounces out of nowhere and knocks the guy right out of the ring. It was crazy. I loved it. I
don't know if you guys remember old TNA. That was Monty Brown, I think was his name.
Yes.
I love the move, the pounce. Why does nobody use that? It's such a good move.
Right?
It's like even if it's a big guy on another big guy, like being able to it still looks good. And Monty Brown did it the best. And I feel like that's a great move for Kratos if he ever goes to like New Japan, because it's just so impactful, and all you do is like you kind of shove a guy up and he falls on his back. I don't know, doesn't seem hard to do. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, with his size, it's such an impressive move.
Yeah, I remember that spot. That was a real good spot. Yeah, but in the end it just kind of all fell apart, and I don't even know if Dickinson still picked up the poor Regal twin he knocked out, right? And he still hit him with his finisher. I don't know what his finisher was. I can't remember.
He hit him with a pile driver, I believe, didn't he?
Jesus.
Dude, I love an old school pile driver. Like, not the Canadian Destroyer, not some crazy angle. I love just an old school pile driver, dude. I loved it.
Oh yeah, he did the Gotch style grip and everything the way Suzuki does, right? So I like that. But after the match, JP, how do you feel about what happens then? Like we got Lawler, who's just yelling at Dickinson to break the kid's arm.
Yeah, and this kind of sets up the dynamic of Bruce Dickinson is going to break off from this organization, from this faction, and is going to go babyface. And it's like I said, I think we're going to get into one of the more compelling stories being told in New Japan Strong, and that's Chris Dickinson and Tom Lawler going head to head from here on out. And this is just the beginning of that. So when that happened, I'm excited, because I'm excited to see Chris Dickinson show everyone what he's made of. And if he can show himself strongly here, who's to say that maybe New Japan Strong down the road will host like a little mini tournament, or be like, whoever wins this will get a shot at to go to the G1 or something like that. And I would love to see Dickinson in the G1.
Oh man, they love their tournaments.
Yeah, let's change. Let's change up this year's G1 because the G1 from 2 years ago and even 3 years ago were amazing.
Mhm.
So let's see something different. And I think this is going to be the beginning of a compelling storyline of Chris Dickinson getting a push. I really do, or else they wouldn't hint at a breakup.
I agree. So,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna. Yeah, I really even though this week didn't have that much relevant matches, this match was really good because, like you said, throughout the whole match, the workhorse of the match was Chris Dickinson. He was kind of shown as like this is the guy putting in all the work, and Lawler is like the manipulator. And then the way it ends, it's like you kind of see the build up throughout the match, and even in the end where Chris Dickinson is like he's defiant, and it's like just setting. It's all about setting the little pieces on the puzzle until you get the full picture. Maybe in the tournament, maybe afterwards. We'll see how things go. I have a theory that Tom Lawler is going to interfere in several matches during this tournament, but we'll see how it goes. Sorry, I'll let you continue, Trevor.
No, it's all good, man. So I was just gonna move on to the tournament itself, which we've been joking that like this is actually the second round of the tournament, not the first round. And it's a 16-man tournament, not an 8-man, because of all those qualifiers. But we have Clark Connors versus Leo Rush, Brody King versus Chris Dickinson, Tom Lawler versus Ren Narita, Hikuleo versus Fred Rosser. So I'm pretty sure that last week, Blue, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure all three of us, me, Blue, and Juicy J, had all said the finals are going to be Brody King and Tom Lawler.
Yeah, I think that's where we heavily leaned on for that throughout the tournament.
So JP, you weren't here last week, so go. What do you think, man? Like, give us a prediction.
As far as who's going to take this tournament,
It's the final two because we were having a hard time telling between Lawler and Brody King. Like, we couldn't really. The three of us were kind of like all tossed up on who would win between those two. So
I'm kind of the same way. I want to go with Brody King personally. I think that if you will go with Brody King, that's going to set him up strongly as a strong faction leader. He just won. He could be the first. He'd be a nice inaugural champion as New Japan Strong Open champion, and therefore that's a strong first champion, and it's going to take time to establish that title as a legitimate title. You have a guy that's going to be hard to beat in Brody King, so whoever does beat him, it'll be like, okay, they definitely earned that title if they beat a guy like Brody King and build up that division around a guy like Brody King. So I say Brody King. They're going to build that around him.
that's awesome. I actually would like to see King more again than Moxley. Now that we know that it's not for a title shot as well, because at the time when we were making our predictions, we totally thought it was for a title shot and not for a title.
Yeah, that's true.
So if we transfer over to New Japan proper, Sakura Genesis. Big stuff happened at Sakura Genesis. We have the junior tag belts. So we had Roppongi 3K, Yo and Show versus Katamaru and El Desperado. JP, what do you think of this match, man?
I have a feeling, just based on the interaction with, like I said, they always put on great matches, but I think the biggest problem with these guys is that we've seen this match so many times, and I feel like these are the only two teams that are upholding the junior tag team division. So I feel like they're kind of hemorrhaging, competition in that division. But I'm going to predict at some point, Roppongi 3K is going to break up, and especially when he came out in that black gear. I feel like at any minute it's inevitable, even though they won the tag titles, they are going to break up and it's going to set off an inter-team rivalry. As far as the match itself, I was shocked that Roppongi 3K got the titles back, but I understand as now they're reintroducing Roppongi 3K as a unit, especially independent of Rocky Romero. But like I said, it was a strong and solid match. I just think they need to put this rivalry to rest, and I think they should. If it was me booking, have them defend these tag titles, but then at the same time slowly cause a rift between Roppongi 3K because I feel like any minute now they're gonna break up and become single stars individually.
I definitely hope so because I feel like they've pretty much everything has been leading up to that when it comes to the two of them. I feel. The match itself was pretty fun and entertaining. These four guys don't really disappoint. But Blue, anything to add on?
No, just kind of agreeing with you guys. The match is always great between these two guys. These four guys know how to work with each other. They've done it so much. It's just it's kind of the junior heavyweight tag division is definitely lacking. Most of the times the teams feel makeshift, like Phantasmo and Taiji is another team, but it's just basically it's Phantasmo and Taiji together. They're not like a cohesive unit. They're just two members of Bullet Club. Desperado and Kanemaru have been working long enough together to be considered a tag team in my eyes. But now Desperado's like I'm surprised he lost it after his first defense. That's kind of that kind of sucks. But I think eventually we see Sho and Yo kind of break. I think we brought this up last week as well, where it's like they're kind of teasing that, and I would like to see how each of these guys kind of carry themselves once they're not related to the Roppongi 3K kind of name, you know. So so that's interesting. I kind of hope again travel opens up. They bring in, some guys from Strong, some guys from Mexico to breathe a little bit new life into the junior tag division because it's really lacking right now.
It really is.
Yeah, they need to. Oh, sorry.
All good, man.
Yeah, they need to bring in tag team from Mexico, tag team from Strong, and then the tag team from Ring of Honor, and you've just breathed way more life into this division, unfortunately. But right now it's not great. But sorry, I'll let you go on.
Yep. No, I was just gonna say. Next we have LIJ versus United Empire. And I was so pumped for the possibilities on who this guy could be because, like, over on Impact, we've been told that a single star was in the talks of going over to Japan to wrestle. I'm like, oh my god, adding somebody to United Empire would be a really smart move. Like, that opens a lot of interesting doors. And it was Hinare. And I'm so disappointed. It's nothing really against Hinare. It's just, I'm like, oh man, I wish they could have just sent you out on an excursion somewhere. And you could have come back in a year or like 2 years as like a defined character with more personality. Because like, are you just supposed to be like with those sunglasses and black gloves? Okay, so you're just the strong silent hitman? That's what you are? That's so original.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna interject here for a second. He came back looking like a knockoff Masahiro Chono.
Yes.
I was gonna say the same thing.
It's a knockoff Masahiro Chono. And how many times are we gonna introduce somebody in New Japan, especially a foreigner, as a heel with black gloves? They did it with Jay White when he first came back, and eventually he dropped the black gloves. They did it with Kenny Omega and the Cleaner before that. And then prior to that, when Masahiro Chono was like part of the part of like the Three Musketeers of New Japan, and then when he went heel, he adopted the black gloves in all of his promos and stuff. I was like, enough with the black gloves and the trench coat, people. Like, there are other ways to be a heel, and it's kind of like, I kind of feel like, you know what, is this like the equivalent of like what like Western promotions, hint hint, the WWE, when they get a Japanese or a foreign star and they make him a heel, they always have to make him. There's like these certain tropes that they have to follow. It's like, oh, foreign equals bad, and because he's bad because he is foreign, it's like, and it doesn't matter, and it's like they don't speak English, or they don't let them speak English, even if they can, they don't, or they have to follow like these certain cultural tropes because they're quote unquote the heel. And is this like the equivalent of like how they view Westerners as like, okay, we're all cold, entitled assholes who wear black gloves?
That just makes me think like I'm
And
gonna be leaving. I'm gonna be leaving my house today and be like, oh shit, my trench coat and sunglasses. I better go back.
And you know what the ironic part about this about the whole thing is that I personally own a pair of black gloves too. So I guess maybe there's a stereotype here going on that I'm unaware of until now.
Heel, right? So yeah.
I would say if my friends were to say, is he a heel? I might be a tweener.
I feel like wrestling needs more of those nowadays anyway, so.
I agree. But as far as Hinare, I agree. It's just like enough with the black gloves, knockoff Masahiro Chono thing. Why should I care that Hinare joined the United Empire? It would have made much more sense. Like you said, put him off an excursion, build his equity from abroad, have him come back, and just be, wow, okay, he is this like young, hungry badass. But no, it fell flat for me, and it's also to stand out when you have a faction that has Will Ospreay as your leader, and Jeff Cobb, who is a beast, and then of course, Great O'Karn, that I guess you could say that is a threat in some capacity. But I think one of the biggest problem with this faction is that this faction has not been able to get any traction. It's not, aside from Will Ospreay, no one else has any gold. No one else has won any tournaments. It'd be different if, like, O'Karn and Cobb had tag titles, or one of them had a title. Like, I don't know, like when
Hinare's here for.
Yeah.
And Cobb, that's going to be a tag team, and Hinare is only here to be Cobb's tag team partner.
Yeah, I feel like he's basically there to take the fall, or to be the to be the fall guy, or to basically be the support guy. But like when they revealed him, I'm like, that's it? Really? That's the best you could fucking do.
I felt happy for Hinare. You guys were really upset about it.
I mean, good for him. Because for a long time I felt like he was just kind of just there. But it still bums me out because it's like, God, in the like New Japan, the front office, they have to be aware in the world of wrestling with all these free talents roaming around, people asking to get released and jumping from promotion to promotion. There's a lot of expectation that, I mean, this is also the problem with fans nowadays, that our expectations get so high by default that people are thinking, oh, how would you want to bet it's going to be Andrade? And it wasn't. So the fact that it's someone so low on the totem pole like Hinare, I just felt like poor Hinare, he's screwed. And then you give him the tired gimmick of, like I said, the knockoff Masahiro Chono. It's just like, come on.
I feel like we're at a point where we can't tease mystery people anymore. Like Christian Cage shows that.
Yeah.
We can't tease mystery people because Americans will always say CM Punk, first of all.
CM Punk where?
CM Punk firm.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, but it's not just that. It's like it's mostly CM Punk actually, but because he himself says it, like he feels like it's a bad idea for people to tease it because he's so prominent. But it's just left a bad taste for everybody at this point because, like, I ranted last week that, like, on Impact, okay, we got a video package of Finn Juice kicking ass in New Japan, right? They're claiming that they were defending the titles, and they're showing footage of Jay White versus Finlay from the Cup, and I'm like, that's footage from a singles match. Like, you're not even trying to trick me. You know what I mean? Like, I watch both products as a fan. Like, I am the target audience for the crossover Forbidden Door shit, and I'm hating everything because I'm just disappointed. They're just dropping the ball constantly everywhere I look right now. AEW's dropping the ball, Impact's dropping the ball, and New Japan's dropping the ball now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And then it's disappointing. Like I said, the only thing that was kind of like, it wasn't disappointing. It was like, okay, this is a nice start. Was when Kenta showed up on Dynamite. That was a nice kick open to the door, because you don't want to say like, oh, the door's open and immediately Okada is on Dynamite. No. You don't want to do your biggest star yet. You want to build up to that moment. But Kenta was a nice start. I was like, okay, this is cool. I dig this. This is a surprise. This is awesome. And then the lackluster build of like Finjuice, and then you go back to New Japan. It's like, oh, who's the mystery guy? It's the mystery guy, and then it's Hanare. It's like, come on.
Why didn't they send Hanare to AEW?
Yeah.
Or Impact?
I said, like, have him learn. Have him, like I said.
He could have been a New Japan Strong the entire time while still working one of those two products. Yeah. Very easily.
I mean, I think he could very well benefit from going to a place like the Nightmare Factory and being under Dustin Rhodes and teaching him psychology.
Yep.
Because he needs a personality, and he doesn't have one. I'm sorry to say it, but he doesn't. It's like the equivalent of Yoshihashi, like no personality. Can work his ass off, but no personality.
Yeah. Do you have any one last thing I want to bring up that Blue mentioned? Like, you're happy for an RA to be given this position, right, Blue?
Yep.
My problem is when you put a guy in a mystery spot like that, you're setting them up to fail. So I'm not happy for Hanare because I feel like he's automatically put in a position where he can't succeed.
Yeah, there's too high expectations because everybody thought he was CM Punk.
Literally anybody else.
Or anybody, yeah. And unfortunately, yeah. And I like the promo he cut after this match. I saw part of it where he's like, he kind of went again after Tanahashi as like his whipping boy. It's like, I'm not Tanahashi's whipping boy again anymore, which I liked. I like his reasoning for it. The story's there, and maybe Tanahashi hasn't never open weight. So we'll see if Hanare might go for that. They might actually give him something to do. But it's like it's where they go from here. And I agree, the whole, just as we were talking about, like, hey, if you're a wrestler, try to avoid Rey or Mysterioso. If you're a foreign wrestler in Japan, try to avoid the sunglasses and rain, not raincoat, but and jacket.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, black, duster. It's like, enough already, man. It's like, not every foreigner is going to a fetish ball. Okay, let's relax.
No, but you're right. Like, we have Jay White, we had Kenny Omega, we had like every leader of the Bullet Club has done it at this point.
Yeah. I mean, at least AJ Styles showed up in a regular hoodie and cowboy boots.
That's true. That's true. Because I was able to say Finn Balor even wore a leather jacket.
Yeah, enough already.
Devitt, he even wore a leather jacket. So I mean, like, come on. But anyway.
Stop it. Nice.
So let's go over to the main event of Sakura Genesis now. The IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match between Kota Ibushi and Will Ospreay. And Blue, do you wanna start with this one?
I don't know if I'm the perfect person, so I have a funny story going. This was the first match in quite a while where it's like you didn't know who was gonna win. You were like, Kota was coming off. He's the first champion for the IWGP, World Heavyweight Championship. So it's like if he loses the belt on his first defense, he kind of looks like a chump, unless like they hit him with a truck, and that's what it took to pin him. And then you have Ospreay, who has the brand new faction. He's got, he's the brand new toy in New Japan. Just won the tournament, coming red hot. It's like there's a legitimate who's gonna win this tournament, who's gonna end up kind of on the good side. And on Sunday afternoon, I didn't stay up to watch the match. And first thing I do, I get on Google Chrome. I see new champions crowned, but you remember the tag team titles were also being defended. So I was like, that's kind of a spoiler, but it doesn't confirm which belts, because that could have easily just been the tag belts. Secondly, I get on Instagram and I see some pictures. I'm like, whoop, before I notice it. And then finally, I get on Facebook. I don't know why. Just avoid social media if you're trying to avoid spoilers from New Japan. And there you go. And new. And I was like, So I didn't get to see the match, unfortunately. It was spoiled for me. And my rule of thumb with New Japan is these matches are 40 minutes. And if it's spoiled, it kind of takes it away. And especially for this match, there was so much going on. So I really just got to see the highlights. There's a real cool spot with Osprey doing a draped shooting star press. He draped Kota over the top rope, does a shooting star press on him. That was wild. So I just got to see more of the crazy spots. I didn't get to see the full match, but again, the story, the setup for this match was amazing. Again, it's rare in wrestling where you can set something up and people don't expect which way you're gonna go. Because again, like we're saying here, Kota, it's his first title defense of the first new belt.
Yeah.
And then Osprey, he's won his tournament. He's trying to redeem himself from losing at the Wrestle Kingdom. So it's like there was a lot on the line for both guys, and unfortunately that I spoiled that for myself. I blame myself for getting on social media. But rule of thumb,
man, why would you go on 3 platforms?
Rule of thumb, though, if you're posting about Japanese wrestling, wait 24 hours. At least wait 12 hours. I don't blame the guy. I blame myself for going on so many platforms. I was really upset, though. But no, I'm sure the match was really good. Both these guys are amazing. It was unfortunately I spoiled it for myself. What about you, JP? Did you get to watch the match?
I did watch the match. I watched it in a whole. Extremely strong match. Very entertaining 30 minutes. You could definitely tell that they were both less. I mean, even though there was plenty of high flying spots, you could tell that Kota Ibushi did not rely on his high flying offense as much due to the fact that he is nursing a foot injury. And then, of course, Osprey with his bum shoulder, upper neck area, he was definitely careful with his movements. You could definitely tell they were both very deliberate with how they wrestled this match. But even in spite of the injuries, they both wrestled such an incredible match, such an incredible storyline. And I think in terms of booking, I have mixed feelings, but it makes sense because you have Osprey, who the past 3 times has beaten Ibushi clean. In whatever circumstance it was, whatever title it was, he has beaten Ibushi clean. It was never disputed. So this is kind of like, oh man, this is the one person that Ibushi has only pinned once, and that was years ago. So let's see if he can actually make it through. And once again, the hidden blade is what did Ibushi in, and then of course to put the capitalization, to put the exclamation point, with the Stormbreaker. It was absolutely amazing to see finally Will Ospreay is the man, and I think that's awesome. It made it less predictable. I am slightly disappointed because I was expecting a much longer and better reign from Kota Ibushi at the same time, because I feel like people have wanted to see that for a while. Like, let's get Kota Ibushi a proper reign, and the reign was a bit short. It was a little bit short. I mean, it was long enough, but especially when he introduced the idea of unifying both titles, I felt, okay, now that a new lineage in the title is starting, I would say give him like 6 months, give him 6 months, give him 8 months before you take it off of him. But unfortunately, he was on the first defense of the new belt. But
do you think the injury had anything to do with that?
It may have. It may very well have. It's the same reason why I think afterwards, when Shingo Takagi came out and challenged, Osprey, saying, I've beaten you before, and I can do it again. And then, and the thing is, it was funny because Osprey initially called out Okada, because Okada was the one that pinned him at Wrestle Kingdom, and he's like, I want my revenge. But then out of nowhere, Takagi made a valid point. It's like, nobody remembers that. Only people remember is that I beat you. That's what they remember. So why does he have an opportunity before I do? Like, I'm first. So then it's setting up to where Takagi has the next shot, which makes it very interesting. And then, of course, Okada just recently.
I love how Ospreay's already looking over Takagi, and he's already looking over him, looking at Okada.
Exactly, and that could cost him. Who knows? Who knows what the booking decisions are nowadays? But with that being said, I mean, I think they're delaying the Okada thing because I know he's still nursing. He's still nursing his back injury. That's why he's been prominently featured in tag matches. Where, if you noticed, he doesn't work. He's not the workhorse in these tag matches like he normally is.
He's been going pretty slow.
He's been going pretty slow or off to the side and taking these very gentle bumps. And I think he needs time to rest. I know just recently he just ran the torch for the Olympics. I wonder if he's okay from that. Yeah. Because that's a pretty substantial distance for every leg of that torch run. And so I'd say it's gonna be another 2, maybe 3 months before you see Okada challenge for that title. And I think that's done deliberately because the fact is Okada still needs to heal. Takagi seems to be the only one that's been able to keep himself healthy and is a workhorse. So I don't foresee Takagi taking it. I see Takagi taking him to his limit and getting very, very close. But I could be wrong because I didn't think that that Ibushi was going to lose so quickly, and he did. But it'll be interesting.
I was about 5 minutes into this match when I was just like, oh, this pace is pretty slow. Oh boy. Okay, strap myself in. This is going to be like a 25, 30-minute match. Like, 5 minutes in, when I saw the pace they were going at and how little high flying, I was like, okay, this is going to be a long one. They're going to go. I thought they were going to go a little bit longer than what they did. Like, I thought the match itself was going to be closer to like 35, 40 minutes. But I'm not disappointed with what I got. That was a great match. Something that my wife did point out to me, though, when it comes to like being disappointed because of Ibushi being the new champ, walking in with the belt but not really getting to defend it and like continue like be the first champion, the first legitimate champion of the belt. You know what I mean? My wife was pointing out to me, she's just like, yeah, but look at that belt on Ospreay. Look at that belt on Ibushi. Who do you think they made that belt for? And I'm like, you're right. That looks a lot. That belt looks like it was made for Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
And I've heard the response is actually that a lot of people have actually said it looks better on Ospreay. Yeah. People are starting to warm up to it more with time too. So,
like I said, it's kind of like back. I remember as a kid when they moved on from the winged tip belt to like the new WWE design. People hated it. They were like, "What the hell? The skull belt was the best one. It's classic." And I agree. It was one of my favorite belts from that time. But over time, it grew on me, and you kind of you move on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the new belt is the worst thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like this last belt because this last belt lasted for over 25 years. But as with everything has to change, whether you like it or not. And I don't think it's the worst thing. It could be worse. It could be a hell of a lot worse. Like that original TNT belt, TV title was just terrible looking.
Yeah. It looks a lot better just the plain black that they have right now, and it looks so much nicer right now.
So, but I agree. The title looks way better on Ospreay. It absolutely does.
I remember. Well, I'll be honest. Like, when WWE trashed the Intercontinental and brought out the current one. Oh man, as a Canadian, because I don't know, like, if you guys are aware, but like, us Canadian fans hold the Intercontinental belt to like a higher pedestal than what we hold the WWE World Heavyweight. Most fans do, anyway.
In my head, I do too, but according to Vince McMahon, it doesn't mean shit anymore.
Yeah.
Is that because of WrestleMania 6?
Not necessarily. It's just look at the people who have look at the legacies of the people who have held that belt. Christian Cage is an amazing Intercontinental champion. Chris Jericho has the most reigns. You know what I mean? Like a lot of Stone Cold is known for that belt, but up here we attribute it to people like Jericho, Bret Hart. It's a Canadian title for us, especially with Pat Patterson being the first champion, being Canadian. It's something that a lot of us as fans tend to hold near and dear to our hearts. So when they trash the white belt for the current one, I'm not even currently watching WWE. I just saw the picture of the new Intercontinental belt and my heart sank. I was just like, oh no, why? Why would you do that? Why would you get rid of that lineage and honor? Like that was I was so sad.
Yeah, I agree. But like I said, I feel like in due time people will kind of look past it. But I do agree. Like I think like the moment Ospreay had it, it's like, it does look good on him.
Yeah.
I think that. Oh, sorry.
No,
I think the booking of the tournament here makes sense because if you think about it, Coda said he was going to be double champion and retire the belts, and he did exactly what he did. But now that he has the new belt, he didn't make any statements where I was like, I'm going to reign forever, right? his goal had already been accomplished. So when a new challenger came in for this new belt, he got basically the belt got usurped from him, and now he has a new goal, right, which is revenge against Will Ospreay, or take the belt from Will. So I guess Kota still doesn't look bad from this because he did exactly what he said he was gonna do. But now, once you get too comfortable, it's that Rocky 3 storyline. You get too comfortable where you're at, then Clubber Lang comes over, and he takes your belt.
Exactly. And I do love the narrative. Like in closing, I do love that narrative that at the end of this, as Kota Ibushi's struggling to get on his feet and go to the back, he's like, I just killed God.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And
because Kota Ibushi said he wants to be like what he felt like Nakamura and Tanahashi was back then. He wanted to be a wrestling god. He wanted to be the god of New Japan, and he felt that he did it. And then who comes in? Ospreay defeats him cleanly, and it's like, I just killed your god. I just killed him.
And Kenny Omega's ears are ringing and going, what? I'm over here.
So it'll be interesting. And then for the press conference to happen the next day, and for him to call out people, including CM Punk, which CM Punk has specifically said 2 years ago, there's not really that many people I'd be interested in working, but it'd be really interesting to work with a guy like Will Ospreay, and called him out by name.
You're right. That was really cool. So
interesting times could be ahead for us, and we don't even know it.
Yep. But JP, what's going on next in New Japan proper? What's going to be happening in between now and our next episode?
Like I said, I think Chris Dickinson, you're going to see the start of the push of Chris Dickinson, him and that rivalry between him and Team Filthy. That's going to be compelling for New Japan Strong. I do feel like Moxley is going to make an excursion over to Japan really soon in order to face Nagata, which I'm happy to see that. And that's really cool that he's kind of paying attention to old school New Japan. Kind of like, he's like, you know what, you're an old guy, but you're not done yet. I want to see if you can take this belt from me. And I think that's awesome. And as far as Ospreay, I think Ospreay is going to start on a lengthy run. I think this might be a very lengthy run, personally.
I'm hoping it is for him. It makes sense. When it comes to New Japan Strong, on tonight's episode, we are going to be getting all 4 singles matches of the tournament. And when it comes to New Japan, what's the next event that is starting? I do not know the name of it. I'll be honest.
Is it the one in the baseball stadium?
It's going to be Wrestling Dontaku.
Okay. We're building to the to Grand Slam, right? That's what it's called. Yes. The one that's been, the big 2-day one they announced.
Mm-hmm. Which it's in the Tokyo Dome, and then I think it's in a baseball stadium, and I don't know if it's Shinjuku or some part of Tokyo.
I just opened up a can and just fucking poured all over me. Sorry, everybody.
Oh no!
It's stone cold on us.
Do not dare me. I will do that. I will do that in the middle of this living room.
Oh, that's great. But normally we have Juicy J here to do plugs for Tiger Driver. Do either of you guys know the plugs for Tiger Driver off the top of your heads?
It's funny that you mention that, because look who I have here.
Oh, there he is!
Oh!
Surprise! You're Hinara for today. You're surprise. Ready for the plug?
Let me do it.
Great. We had a good little recording here, man. You're catching us right at the end.
Yeah. I'll do the plugs real fast.
Yeah, man. Go for it.
All right. Follow Tiger Driver Radio on Facebook as Tiger Driver Radio. The whole thing spelled out. Same thing with Instagram. Twitter, we are Tiger Driver Rad1. That's RAD1. The number 1. Tiger Driver Radio. Oh, yeah.
And as always, all that's going to be down in the description below. But thank you guys for joining me again this week. We have, schedule's going to be a little intense for this weekend. We have an episode of Impact coming up, going up right before Hardcore Justice. We have the recap of AEW Dynamite next week on Wednesday. We have the Hardcore Justice recap going up on Thursday. And, of course, New Japan Strong next week right here on Friday again. So thanks again, guys. And everybody, like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment down below about your favorite parts of New Japan. Who do you think is going to win the tournament? And what do you think of Will Ospreay being champion? Have a good one, everybody.